Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. European Union leaders have struck a deal on a huge post-coronavirus recovery package following a fourth night of talks.
This is a good deal. This is a strong deal.
The deal involves €750 billion in grants and loans to counter the impact of the pandemic in the bloc of 27 members. It is the biggest joint borrowing deal ever agreed by the EU. Summit chairman Charles Michel said it was a pivotal moment for Europe, while President of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen said there is still lots of work ahead.
Europe as a whole has now a big chance to come out stronger from the crisis. Today we've taken a historic step we can be all proud of. But another important step remains ahead of us. First and foremost, we now have to work with the European Parliament to secure agreement. We have a lot of work ahead of us, but tonight is a big step forward towards recovery.
There should be immediate action by government and intelligence agencies to tackle the threat of Russian interference in UK politics. That's according to a long-awaited report.
Russia poses an all-encompassing security threat.
Announced by the Parliament's Intelligence and Security Committee in London, the document says the government was playing catch-up despite evidence of interference in the Scottish independence referendum. It also accuses the government and spy agencies of being reluctant to even consider the topic of Russian interference. In response, the Kremlin said Russia never interfered in another country's electoral processes. In the US, law enforcement have clashed with protesters in Portland as some people tried to break into a federal courthouse where agents were stationed. Protesters had gathered outside the courthouse to demonstrate against a federal crackdown on anti-racism protests in the city, which has involved unmarked cars and unidentified officers, angering people across the country. Meanwhile, Los Angeles residents have formed long lines at a drive-through coronavirus testing site as the California governor, Gavin Newsom, said the state's COVID-19 positivity rate was holding steady. The testing facility at Dodger Stadium is one of the busiest in Los Angeles County, and people waited in their cars for hours for a test. Newsom said the number of cases, hospitalizations and intensive care unit admissions were all still rising in California, but not nearly as much or as fast as in recent weeks. Sudan has started a new trial against the ousted President Omar Al-Bashir and some of his former allies on charges of leading a military coup that brought the autocrat to power in 1989. If convicted, the former president, who ruled Sudan for 30 years, could face the death penalty. Al-Bashir has also been indicted by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes and genocide in the western Darfur region. He was overthrown last year after months of pro-democracy demonstrations. Meanwhile, Kenya's candidate to the World Trade Organization's top post has said she is seeking Washington's backing as she emerges as one of the top 2 African female frontrunners. Delegates have said that Amina Mohamed is one of the favourites, alongside Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, to replace Brazil's Roberto Azevedo as Director General, although weeks of campaigning lie ahead. The World Trade Organization has never been led by a woman or an African. Activists in Senegal have been campaigning against unchecked construction, which they say is speeding up coastal erosion, threatening the environment and blocking access to public beaches. Local activists have shot this video to increase awareness of threats to the capital Dakar's eroding shoreline. Scientists have also warned of the environmental risks posed by unregulated construction to accommodate the capital's population of 3 million people, which is growing at twice the rate of the rest of Senegal. China has threatened a forceful counterattack in response to Britain's announcement that it would suspend its extradition treaty with Hong Kong following Beijing's introduction of a national security law. The Chinese news conference comes after British Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab told Parliament the extradition treaty would be suspended immediately and an arms embargo would be extended to Hong Kong. The decision has infuriated China, who has repeatedly told Western powers to stop meddling in Hong Kong's affairs. And finally, the World Surf League has announced the 5 nominees for the Wipeout of the Year category, an award that shows surfing is one of the most dangerous sports in the world. It is no surprise that Jaws, an infamous wave in the Pacific Ocean off the Hawaiian island of Maui, features 3 times in the category. The public can vote for their favourite wipeout online between July the 20th and July the 23rd, with the winner announced on July the 27th. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.